Hello and welcome everyone to our premiere event featuring Matt Fan. He'll kick off our Skills 101 session on Toad. With so many versions of Toad available, you might be asking yourself which one is right for you. Matt will explore the different Quest Toad products, helping you find the perfect fit for your needs and your organization. So sit back and get ready for some valuable insights and practical tips. Let's give Matt a virtual round of applause.
Hi, welcome to our first Toad 101 session. My name is Matthew Fan. I'm a software consultant with Quest Software. I specialize in many of our database solutions, including our Toad portfolio. The goal of these Toad 101 sessions is to provide you with expert-led sessions, help you gain useful insights, sharpen your skills, and give you the techniques to be really efficient when using the Toad solutions. We hope to provide you with the tools to solve real world scenarios. One of the frequent things I hear when I talk to users is, oh, I didn't know Toad could do that, or I didn't know you had a Toad that could do that. But we hope these series of sessions will help out with that, even for folks who've used Toad for 20 or 30 years. Furthermore, we want these sessions as a way to help communicate, help the community, ask questions and get answers and provide us with feedback. We really want to nurture that relationship so that you can have more value with your investment in Toad. So with this first Toad 101 session, we wanted to kind of lay the groundwork and the fundamentals, and then you'll have a good idea of which sessions in the future are going to be best for you. And so part of what I do is I lead product demonstrations and do training sessions. I go to trade shows and I just meet with the community and just really love doing that, really love the community. And we really hope that you guys participate in these Toad 101 sessions. So yeah, once again, one of the things I run into a lot is that people don't know that there are different kinds of toads available. Oftentimes they're using one that's not really meant for what they do. So they're not realizing their full potential of using Toad. Or they might be missing something that they could really help, that could be really useful and help them be a lot more productive. One of the reasons for this mismatch is that data has been democratized. Basically, everyone's got access to data now. It powers our BI, it powers our AI, and people end up using Toad for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it's just that's what the previous person was using, or that's what someone else in IT is using, so they're using it too. And so, they might be using Toad in an old role, and then now they move to a new role, but they still find that comfort in using Toad, so they continue using that same Toad that they used before. So we're going to discuss who uses Toad because it's not just IT anymore. What Toad is to these folks and how they use it and what they find useful inside of Toad. Then we're going to discuss the different Toads that might be a better fit for you. And I'll talk about these Toads and key features and differences. And that will help you understand that there could be a different Toad that you should be using instead. And hopefully this session will also give you just an overview of all the Toads. And so it'll give you an idea of which Toad sessions that you might want to attend in the future. Then we'll wrap it up with a sneak peek of the future Toads, like the next generation of Toads that can be used on many different database platforms and can do different things for different folks. All right. So who uses Toad? Well, there's a lot of popular job titles that use Toad, right? You've got your DBAs, your database developers, and your data analysts. And the funny thing is that in recent years, the line between these roles have become more and more blurred. But if we had to categorize it, these are the three categories that I would kind of try to group people into, right? So DBAs, obviously, they're like the database professionals who are responsible for the availability and the performance of a database. They're maintaining the uptime and reliability of those databases. They might do a lot of different things, but user permissions, roles, disaster recovery, patching, diagnostics, that typically falls on their shoulders, and they're really concerned about the uptime and availability of those services. Next are the database developers. These are the folks who are focused on writing code for the database. And I'm usually talking about like SQL code, SQL, and PLSQL code. So they're working on things like stored procedures, functions, packages, and things that extend the feature set of the database and applications that use that database. Um, they might do things like debugging and code reviews and unit testing. So they have slightly different job requirements there. And then finally, on the left, I'm sorry, on the right, you got the data analyst, right? And these could have a lot of different titles: data analyst, business analyst, data specialist, data engineer, and they write SQL as well. But they're more writing SQL for reports or retrieving data for reports and analysis. But they also might be moving some data around, maybe getting some data from a data warehouse and publishing that somewhere else. So they're more concerned about the data itself, not necessarily the uptime and upkeep of the database, right? And so they might not even be in the IT department. They could be someone in the business team or in the business department, like finance or HR. So these users have Toad because they just need to get access to some of the data in these databases. So again, this is a Toad 101, so let's level set and talk about what is Toad. And obviously, we're going to start with Toad for Oracle. Toad for Oracle, the original TOAD. And I abbreviated that not just to be silly, but TOAD actually is an acronym. It stood for Tool for Oracle Application Development. It was a tool designed for Oracle developers to connect to an Oracle environment because at that time, Oracle was all command line. And so Toad was developed as this rich IDE for working with Oracle databases. And it has a fantastic editor window for writing and authoring SQL queries and code, PL SQL code, right? It's got things like syntax highlighting, debugging, code formatting, and a great database browser. And so it was so good that DBAs started using it, right? And so DBAs started using Toad to write their scripts and manage their database objects. And over the years, we added more and more developer and DBA features like wizards and compare tools and schema compares and SQL optimizers and things like that. So it really became the solution for Oracle DBAs and developers. And then over the years, we added more and more specializations. We've made more enhancements to Toad that some people aren't even aware of. So if you're a developer, we have a specific Toad Developer Edition that enhances developer features. So this Toad Developer Edition has things like really focused for PL SQL authors and has things like code testing, right? It's going to test your code, make sure that it's bulletproof. It's got scale testing and load testing to make sure that your code works at scale, which is really important nowadays. And so this edition helps you build out like test harnesses and suites and has automated testing workflows to do regression testing and code coverage testing and things like that. So if you're a developer, you might want to take a look at the Toad Developer Edition. And then if you're a DBA, there's a special edition that focuses on DBA features like diagnostics, right? DBAs are focused on diagnostics and like database health checks and log readers. And so, it's got the tables and views and specific features and functions that are designed for a DBA to look at their instances and do all their diagnostics. And so if you're a DBA, you might want to be looking at the Toad for Oracle DBA edition. And again, we're going to have these sessions that goes deeper into these different features. And so you have an idea of what you might see in the future sessions. We've added other enhancements to Toad just based on user requests. So, provide us with your feedback. So now we have a Toad for Mac, Toad for Oracle running on a Mac. And this is a request for a long time coming. People have been asking for this, but we finally got Toad running on a Mac OS without the need for like a virtual machine or using parallels or anything like that. So if you've got a Mac computer and you've had to virtualize Toad before, well now we have an edition of Toad that runs specifically on a Mac OS and it's supported from Quest. And some people have different pricing models and requirements. So we do have Toad subscription models as well. So that's more like a pay as you go. And that helps you scale up and scale down as much as you need. And a lot of companies like this just because now they can charge like CapEx versus OpEx. And then if you've got like an old copy of Toad that you never upgraded before, it's super easy to get into a Toad subscription and get the latest versions of Toad. And lastly on this list here, we've got some really cool stuff that's been coming out. We've got new data sensitivity awareness tools inside of Toad just to help you find and recognize where you might have some private data or some sensitive data in your environment. And we've got some new AI features coming out. It's already out actually, that you can opt into and then have AI help you with your coding, right? It's going to take your code and it's going to analyze it and it's going to give you feedback on it. It's going to explain to you what that code does in plain English. And we're going to add more and more features to that. And it's totally up to you if you want to opt into that or stick with the Toad that doesn't have AI because we know not everyone not every company is ready for AI, right? So that's just a quick overview of the 30 years of Toad for Oracle history. It's a very rich product. It's got a lot of really cool things, but it is sort of designed specifically for DBAs and developers. If you're a data analyst, you might be using Toad, but I think there's a better Toad for you. So stick around. We'll go over the other Toads in just a little bit, but I just wanted to go over a quick chart here. And, this is kind of running down the different editions of Toad once again. The two on the left there, the base edition and pro edition, those are a lot of times what people are familiar with, right? So a lot of developers and DBAs might be on that edition when there is an edition like the expert edition that adds in the SQL tuning and SQL optimizer that can be really helpful for you, right? The ability to take your code and automatically have it give you suggestions on how to make that code better. And then we've talked about really quick there the developer edition that has developer features like the code testing and code scaling testing solutions. And then on the far right, the DBA edition, which adds in more diagnostics tools, more wizards to help DBAs be more efficient. And once again, we're going to have more sessions that goes deeper into these different personas, that goes deeper into these different features, so that you can go and learn more about the Toad for Oracle set here. Uh, if you didn't know, there's also many different editions of Toad that support other database platforms. Again, these are the ones that are designed for the DBA and developer type of person, right? And so we have a Toad for SQL Server, a Toad for DB2, Toad for SAP databases, which includes Sybase ASE, SQL IQ, SQL Anywhere, and HANA, right? So if you're a DBA or a developer on these platforms, if you didn't know, we do have Toad for these other platforms. So these Toad for databases. And these are super popular because it's the same really cool features and functions that you got out of Toad for Oracle available on a different platform. So for example, you're an Oracle DBA, but now you're assigned to also support SQL Server. Well, now you can go over to a Toad that supports SQL Server and still have those same tools and capabilities as you did before, right? So you've got the same very powerful editor window with the syntax highlighting and the code formatting and the auto-completes and auto-suggestions and the object explorer, schema browser, things like that. So the tool that you're comfortable with working on Oracle, now if you're supporting other database platforms, works there as well. Okay, so other really cool things inside of Toad for Oracle that you are that is available inside of Toad for SQL Server as well, or Toad for DB2 and those other Toads, like the compare tools, right? We know that the compare tools in Toad for Oracle have been super popular. Some people buy Toad for Oracle just so they can do schema compares and data compares and things like that. So we have those same tools available in other platforms. So if you are a SQL Server DBA, we have a tool that does schema compares on SQL Server, data compares on SQL Server, and so forth. And so if you're a DBA or developer, you have those same tools on these other platforms here. And that SQL Optimizer, the ability to take a SQL query and have it automatically tune, that's also available on those other database platforms like DB2 or SAP. So again, the tool that you were comfortable with on Oracle is available across different platforms, and the same automation capabilities, the ability to take a workflow like connect to a database, run a query, prompt for an email, take that information and package it all together and then send somebody a report. That can be done inside of these other Toads as well. So uh, if you've been using Toad for Oracle and you're Oracle DBA or an Oracle developer writing PL SQL code, then just know that you are supported on other database platforms as well. So again, if you're a DBA or developer and you want to go deep into those platforms, you want to go with the Toad for Oracle if you're an Oracle person, and you want to go Toad for SQL Server if you're a SQL Server person, or you want to go Toad for DB2 and so forth if you're a DB2 person. And those Toad for databases like Toad for Oracle, they go deep into those respective platforms. But as you can see here, Toad has branched out to even more platforms. And yeah, we found that a lot of people who are using Toad use it in a different way than we thought they might. So a lot of folks, like data analysts, are using Toad for Oracle to do data analysis, really. what they're really doing is using Toad for Oracle to connect to Oracle, run a query, and then take that data and then save it to Excel. Then they do all their work in Excel. So they would use Toad just to connect to Oracle, get that data. Then they would use another tool to connect to SQL Server. They would use like Management Studios or a Toad for SQL Server. And then, again, they would just query the database, get the data, and put it to Excel and then work on it in Excel. And then they would use like MySQL Workbench to do it on MySQL and so on and so on. So a lot of people were using multiple tools and a very small fraction of that tool to get their job done, right? And so a recent study showed that like 70% of all organizations have more than one database platform. So it's highly likely that either you're supporting multiple database platforms now, or you're going to be supporting multiple database platforms in the future. So our newest Toads, Toad Data Point and Toad Data Studio, those Toads are multi-platform enabled. From one user interface, um, they can connect to many different data sources. And it doesn't matter if it's a relational database or non-relational database. It doesn't matter if it's on-prem or in the cloud. It doesn't matter if it's a data warehouse or a BI application. Toad Data Point and Toad Data Studio is a single they are single IDEs that support all these different database platforms, right? So from one tool, you'll be able to do and work with all these different data sources um, instead of having to jump from tool to tool like you did before. So if that's something that you're interested in, let's drill into a little bit more about the Toad Data Point and Toad Data Studio solutions. So again, on this slide, we're talking about a single Toad that can connect to all these different data sources, right? You can see there on the top left, all my relational databases like Oracle and MySQL and Postgres. You can see data warehouse platforms like Snowflake in the cloud and Teradata, things like that. You can also use Toad Data Point and Toad Data Studio really to connect to things like Oracle OBI, Oracle OB and SAP Business Objects. And down below, you can also see that Toad Data Point and Toad Data Studio, they also connect to things like Hadoop through Hive or HBase or Cassandra or document databases like MongoDB. So the, now you're opened up to these new database platforms when you have a Toad Data Point or a Toad Data Studio. So Toad Data Point is designed for like a data analyst. So it has more of a drag and drop approach to building queries. In this slide, you can see that I grabbed a table from Oracle and I just dragged it over to the query builder. And then I checked some boxes so I can query that SQL Server table. Then I grabbed a table from Oracle and I dragged that over to the same visual query builder. And I just draw some lines and check some boxes, and Toad will build the query for me and get that data set back. And this is data that's blended between two different database platforms, right? So that's a huge time saver. I don't have to go to SQL Server, run a query, go to Oracle, run a query, get all that data from Excel and mash it up and then try to serve it up in a single report. Toad Data Point can do that in one shot, one query, get the data, blend it together, and now I've got my report ready. And we can do that with a really cool workflow as well. So you can have this more of a step-by-step approach where in this example here, I'm going to say, let's query this data set from SQL Server. And then I'm going to do these following things. I'm going to save a copy of it to Excel. Then I'm going to create a pivot grid. And then I'm going to create a different pivot grid on a different pivot. Then I'm going to run through a tool to clean up some of my data. And then I'll send out a report to the team from SQL Server. Then I'll do something on Oracle next. So you just kind of follow from top to bottom. Now I'm going to connect to Oracle. I'm going to see, oh, I'm going to grab some data from Oracle. I'm going to stash that in my pocket on my database, on my personal database, and then I can reuse that. And then the third step there, I've got data in my own little data lake, and I can blend that data together and generate a report and then publish that out to the rest of the team as a final report. And so I can run the whole thing from top to bottom, clicking on that first play button at the top right, or I can just run the SQL Server portion there with the next play button, or just run the Oracle portion uh, partition. Whatever I want to do, I can use that Toad here to kind of streamline that workflow in a nice and organized manner. And then I can just even schedule this to run automatically as often as I need. So you can see that Toad Data Point is really geared towards that data analyst type of workflow of getting data from different data sources, working with it and then blending it and massaging it and getting it ready for that final report. There's also tools inside of Toad Data Point to help you like massage the data a little bit, right? So you don't have to know the SQL code to change the date format, like in this example here, where I've got date format with a timestamp. I can just select it in Toad Data Point and then use a wizard to say, you know what, I want it formatted like this. I want month, day, year, and then no time at the end, right? So I don't have to know, well, what's the code to do that in SQL Server, and then what's the code to do that on Oracle, and so on and so on. You could just use Toad Data Point, and you'll have this wizard to help you just select like a drop-down menu like you would in Excel, right? You'll just be able to connect to an environment and get the data by dragging and dropping, and then massaging that data using wizards, and then be able to publish and share that data out with other people. And then speaking of sharing, we have a collaboration piece as well. So that Toad Data Point has a component that runs on a server if you want. And that way you can share the things that you create inside of Toad with other people. You can publish your reports, you can publish your data sets. It has a web browser. The server has a web browser, so people without Toad can just open up a web browser and they can just go to that Toad site and see the things that you created and you've published to them. So in this example here, I've created and published a few things as Matthew, and then Mario logged in, and he can see the things that Matthew has created and published, and he can get a sense of, he can go ahead and look at this data, he can download a copy of it, he can run my automation scripts if I'm on vacation. So it's really cool to be able to do that kind of thing. All right, let's talk about Toad Data Studio. And it's kind of funny. What's happened is that we had Toad for Oracle and Toad and the other Toads that were designed for DBAs and developers, and then analysts started kind of using it for their jobs. And then we came out this tool for the data analyst, and then we saw that, oh, developers and DBAs started to use that analyst tool for what they're doing. So we found that a lot of people who are using Toad Data Point were also DBAs and developers who had to support multiple database platforms. So it's kind of like the reverse happened, and I think it's super funny. And so again, people are just supporting more and more and newer types of data, right? Data platforms, data on-prem, data in the cloud, and things like that. And people love Toad. And so they want to be able to use a Toad to connect to things like Postgres or connect to new things like Snowflake and MongoDB and things like that. And so you've got this new workforce of former Oracle DBAs now having to support Snowflake or these other new database platforms. So people are just being asked to do more and support more things and sort of become this hybrid data professional, right? And so uh, the tools that are in Toad Data Point aren't necessarily geared to the more technical person like a DBA or a developer. So we've come out with this newest solution. This is Toad Data Studio. It's a Toad that's designed for that hybrid database professional. It has very similar things to Toad Data Point as you've seen before. It's got the multiple database connectivity. It's got the cross-platform query engine. But it's got really unique things that really helps that more technical person work with newer database platforms. So for example, it has cross-platform data compares. You can compare the data from an Oracle table to maybe the data in a Postgres table, right? We know a lot of people are moving off of Oracle and onto open source database platforms like Postgres and MySQL. And so as they migrate over to these new database platforms, it's really beneficial to have a Toad that supports both platforms and can do things like compare the data between the different platforms. So it has a cross-platform data compare. In this example here, I'm comparing a SQL Server table to an Oracle table, and I can see, well, which items are in one environment and not in the other environment, which items exist in both but have different values to it. Gives me this really nice report, and I can also generate a synchronization script. So I can get a script that I can take and run that will update the data in one environment with the data from another. So for example, if I was comparing in this example here, I'm comparing Oracle to SQL Server. Well, let's say I wanted to update the data in SQL Server with the data from Oracle. I can use this tool to compare it and then generate the change script so that will generate me all the inserts, updates, and deletes to synchronize and update the SQL Server table with the data that I got from Oracle. So a cross-platform data compare. This is actually available in both Toad Data Point and Toad Data Studio, but I think it's super handy if you're a hybrid data professional and you want to be able to compare in different environments. That's going to be really cool to have in your toolbox. And again, those compare tools like the schema compare, we have this available in Toad Data Studio, but it supports multiple database platforms, right? So before inside of Toad for Oracle, you can do an Oracle to Oracle schema compare. Then you'd have to go over to Toad for SQL Server to do a SQL Server and SQL Server schema compare. And then Toad for DB2 to do DB2 to DB2 schema compare. But with just Toad Data Studio, you can do all those schema compares in one tool, right? So inside of Toad Data Studio, I can compare Oracle to Oracle. I can compare SQL Server to SQL Server. I can compare DB2 to DB2 and so on. And what's really cool, just a sneak peek, that we're going to have cross-platform schema compares as well. So you'll be able to compare that Oracle environment to that Postgres environment and see what's been migrated over and what hasn't been migrated over yet, and then generate the change script so you can update the Postgres environment with the things that you found in the Oracle environment. So right now it's same platform to same platform, but we support multiple platforms. So Oracle to Oracle, SQL Server to SQL Server, DB2 DB2, Postgres to Postgres, and so on. So that's a really cool thing. If that's something that you need to do, if that's something that you're supporting now, you should really look at Toad Data Studio. And another really cool thing, again, for that hybrid data professional who's more technical and working on code, Toad Data Studio has integrated version control support as well. So in this example here, I could be a DBA, I'm sorry, I could be a developer working on an environment, in this case, a SQL Server environment, and I've got some code that I've created, and I want to be able to check that into my version control system. In this example, it's hooked up with Git. So it's actually hooked up with my GitHub account. So I can be inside of Toad and link up my database with my GitHub repository. So as I update my code in my database, it will compare what I have on my database to what I have in the GitHub repository. And it'll say, oh, you've updated something. Do you want to go ahead and commit those changes? Do you want to add this new piece of code? Do you want to download from the repository the newest version of this code? So you don't have to, you know, without something like this, you'd have to get your database code, copy it to a file, then open up a browser, open up a client, upload that file, and then do all your things separately. But here it's integrated inside of Toad. So as I'm working on my code, I can instantly commit my changes to an environment or download changes my coworker made into my own environment. So it has integrations and version control across database platforms as well. So that's a really cool feature. And again, with the support of these newer database platforms, a lot of people are working with JSON data types nowadays, right? So JSON is a document notation. And so if you've got your key value pairs inside of Toad Data Studio, we have a JSON editor window. So when you open it up, it's all formatted perfectly for you. And you can see, what the data looks like, what the key value pairs are. You can quickly do quick edits to your JSON data sets using Toad Data Studio. All right. So we covered a lot of different toads, right? And this slide kind of summarizes that, or we're going to break it down. If you're a very technical DBA or database developer and you're really focused on one platform, then you're going to want to look at the Toad 4 platforms, right? So it's Toad 4 Oracle goes really deep into Oracle. Toad 4 SQL Server goes really deep into SQL Server. DB2 and SAP and so on. So if you're a DBA for those platforms and you want to go deep and get diagnostics and things like that, or if you're a developer and you want the debuggers and optimizers, you're going to want to stick with the Toad 4s. Now, if you're less technical, or maybe you're more of a business focused or data focused type of person on the far right, if you're like a data analyst or a business analyst, technical analyst, you're really more concerned about the data and generating reports, then you might want to take a look at Toad Data Point, because that Toad, although it doesn't go as deep into any one platform, it spreads across multiple database platforms, and it gives you the tools like an analyst would need, like the workflows and the transformation and cleansing tool. And it also has like data profilers and some statistics and analytics tools in there. So if you're an analyst, especially if you're working with multiple database platforms, you want to look at that Toad Data Point solution there. And if you're somewhere in the middle, there is a middle solution there with the Toad Data Studio. So if you're the accidental DBA, what I like to call them, like you're working with Oracle and you're now accidentally having to support a new database platform. So if you're that accidental DBA or hybrid DBA. If you're more technical than an analyst and you need things like being able to go a little bit deeper and have things like version control and schema compare. If you're a data engineer, you're setting up new environments. You want to be able to, have a way to do that. Toad Data Studio is that sort of right there in the middle solution for you. Multiple database platforms, but a little bit more technical than Toad Data Point. So I hope this helps you understand, based upon what you guys do, which Toad is the best one for you. Because again, I've seen a lot of people who are, trying to get by with Toad for Oracle when they're more of a data analyst, or they've been using Toad Data Point, but they're more of a hybrid engineer and they need more of a technical solution. So maybe they should be using Toad Data Studio instead. And so this gives you that overview, and hopefully this sets the table for all our future sessions. So you know that, oh yeah, I want to go to that session because I'm an Oracle DBA and I want to go learn more about Toad for Oracle, or I want to go to that session because that session is about Toad Data Point, and we're going to go talk about the things that an analyst would want to know. So this hopefully is the slide that encapsulates what I'm trying to tell you here today. All right, but there's some stuff that I can talk about, our new upcoming features like our AI-enabled Toads. Toad for Oracle already has this capability. There is a Toad for Oracle that has AI capability inside of it that you can opt in for. And what it does is it can look at your source code and it can give you feedback and explain to you in plain English what that code does. So let's say you're a developer or you inherited a bunch of code and it's massive and you don't want to sit there and read through and try to figure it out. Well, you can just feed it into Toad and say, hey, Toad, what does this code do? And it'll just explain to you in a quick summary, like, oh, this code will take, data from this table, do some math on it, and then put it into that table. So having an AI help you in your day-to-day is super cool. Again, this is optional. You opt in for it if you want to participate in it. It's available. But that's some of the things that are coming out, and we're going to add these AI features to our other Toads too. So like the Toad Data Point tool, the tool for the analyst, that's going to have the capability of, hey, can you help me write a code that gets the data from this table and multiplies it by this column and etc. It will help you write that code, give you the little skeleton. Here's what we've come up with, and then you can use that or you can manipulate that further if you'd like. So that's going to be really cool. So AI-enabled Toads are coming out. All right. And again, more support for even more database platforms. We're really big on that, especially with the Toad Data Studio and the Toad Data Point. Our next releases are going to support Databricks, which is very popular right now. It's probably the hottest database coming up. So if you're working with Databricks or your company is thinking about working with Databricks and you've got Toad, we've got you covered. So you can move on to these other platforms and feel at ease because we've got your back with our other flavors of Toad. If you've ported over your Oracle applications into the Oracle Fusion Cloud, our newest Toads will also support Oracle Fusion as well. So you can still get those data from that cloud, Oracle Cloud, and be able to do the work without being interrupted. Again, in the same Toad that you've come to know and love. And also support for other platforms like Google BigQuery and so on. So we're always trying to add more and more connectivity to our Toads. And so if you've got something coming up and you think you need support for a particular database platform, let us know. The more we hear from different users that, oh, our company is thinking about doing this platform or that platform, that helps guide where we're going to go with Toad, right? Because there's so many different database platforms. We can support a lot of them because we support ODBC. So if it's not listed and you want to connect to a database platform and they have ODBC drivers, you can install their driver, you can connect to it. But we really want to kind of hyper focus on and making the experience as best as possible on specific databases. So if there's certain databases you think you're going to be using, let us know. We want to know. And so we use your feedback. We look at the market and see where things are trending. And those are the platforms we try to add in future releases. All right. And so that's what I had for you today. I wanted to help you understand which Toad is best for you. And we also just updated our Toad website. So if you go to quest.com/Toad, there's actually a quiz that was just recently published where you can take that quiz and you can tell us about what you do, and it'll help match you exactly with the right Toad. So it'll say, oh, do you support more than one database platform? Yes or no. If you say yes, it'll lead you one way. If you say no, it'll lead you another way. And then it'll take you right to the Toad that you need best. That would be best for you. So check out that website, quest.com/Toad. You can also go to toadworld.com. Toadworld is awesome. This is our community website for all things Toad. And so it's just focused on users. So we've got blogs up there. I post up there. My colleagues post up there. Our developers post there. So you can read about what's coming up or some tips and tricks that we know that help you be more productive in using Toad. You'll also get updates about future sessions and webinars. There's also the user forum where you can post questions and the community helps each other out. And that's really awesome to see. And also our developers on there and I'm on there just answering questions on the forums as well. We also have SQL Shack. So if you're a SQL Server professional and you have some questions or you want to learn more about SQL Server, check out SQLshack.com for more about um, all the latest things about SQL Server, all the tricks we know, and all the things that could help you out when you're supporting SQL Server. All right. And I believe this is the last slide. So just to show you what's upcoming, right? The next Skills 101 course is going to be on April 16th, it looks like. Um, it's going to cover the top 5 features you wish you knew sooner. And so look forward to that session. If you want to get registered for it, there's a QR code on the screen right there. Thank you so much for attending today. Once again, my name is Matthew Fan. I'm a software consultant here at Quest. I love helping our customers make the most out of their investments in Toad. Reach out, check us out on our websites, and we'll see you next time. Bye.